Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Muito boa tarde para todos. Just a couple of words in Portuguese. Boa tarde, desde a Universidade do Estado da Califórnia, em Fresno, onde temos mais uma sessão e esta com uma autora que já aqui esteve connosco. A sessão vai ser em inglês, mas o tema, obviamente, é a presença portuguesa e a nossa e a cultura portuguesa. Again, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thanks all of you who are joining us in various outlets. Thanks to the various groups. I think we have over 40 that have agreed to carry us live, and we appreciate that because it's a way to reach different people that otherwise we would not be able to reach. On behalf of the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, that's PBBI from Fresno State, welcome. This is
Thank you.
actually our one of the last of the season for the spring semester, as the semester is coming to an end. Our friend Julie Costa Langlie is with us. She is an author. She is a children's author, a children's book author, I should say. And she was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Julie will correct me, a year ago when we had a session with a
Yes,
few different
yes,
authors.
yes, it was a year ago. And this book, our last meeting prompted me to write this book.
Well,
You were
that's
the
wonderful.
spark to this book.
Good, good.
So,
Well, hopefully after we present
yeah,
then
thank
you'll get
you.
another spark for another one. Uh,
Oh, yeah, possibly. Yeah, there's another one. I have a much larger project that I've been working for years. It's not a children's book. It's a novel that's been uh, it's in the back of my brain saying, finish me. And it also takes place in the Azores and Terceira. So
okay. Well, hopefully we can talk a
I
little bit about
hopefully that will come.
good, good, good. Well, this week is again National Children's Book Week. I mean, nowadays we have no idea what's National Children's Book Week or not because there's a lot of confusion going on. But it is still National Children's Book Week, and I think it's a lovely week to talk about children's books. We don't usually have a lot in the Portuguese American world. We're getting a few more. Um, so let's talk about this book first of all, and then we'll talk a little bit about the writing that you've done with others as
Okay.
well. But this one is called What is Saudade?
Yeah.
So you said it kind of sparked you from the meeting we had online
Yes.
last
'Cause,
year. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, at our last meeting, I had two books, and and I was thinking to myself, why don't write a book about the Azores? I mean, it sparked like the other women on the panel had Portuguese related books. And I was thinking to myself, what am I waiting for? Maybe, this is a stepping block to that big project that I have that I've been working on for years. So yeah, and once I was on the panel, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm going to start writing that book now. And it's been a year. It took a year to complete. It's a longer book. It's not a picture book like my other two books. It's a chapter book. It's for an older third, fourth grade level, I would say, but it's also a book that can be read to by a parent or an aunt or an uncle. And I think it's uh, it's reading it to me, like all my books. They're all personal to me. They're all personal stories I incorporate in my books. We write what we know, and like the other books, I did get emotional when I wrote it because I was thinking back. Okay, when I was the first time going to Treseda, the first few times, it was a bit of a culture shock. The first time I went there was in the early 70s. So I tried to of course, things have changed since then, but I incorporated a lot of my thoughts and feelings from that time into this book. And so it's a very personal book for me, like my other books.
Sure. Give us a little bit of a synopsis. So, the title is What is Saudade? We'll show it here in a little bit, but
Yeah.
the title is What is Saudade? And so, what did you try to narrate with that?
Well, growing up in a Portuguese home, um, with a Portuguese background, uh, as a child, that there's another place where one of your parents are from. And you hear the stories, you hear um, uh, old stories and when they were growing up, and it's you know it's a constant. And in the beginning of the book, it's about a little girl coming home and seeing her mother crying by the phone. And, you know, she goes up to her and says, why are you so sad? And the mother said, you know, I just got off the phone with your Valzinga, your grandmother. It's just Saudade. And so the little girl, she doesn't quite know what that means. Um, and until she goes to the island and sees firsthand of where her parents came from, where her grandparents lived. It hits her. Okay, I understand this feeling. It's like she's understanding as much as a child, a 9-year-old or a 6-year-old
Sure.
could.
Sure. Now, you a little bit of what you're feeling towards Saudades in the book. Obviously, I mean, you said that you went there as a child when you were, in the 70s, and
Yeah.
did you recalling that now that you had to kind of, think about the feeling, think about the emotion, think about Saudade and what it all the good sense of the word, but all the baggage that it carries. It's not just
Yeah, it
longing,
does, you know, the definition of soldado alone is it can be interpreted in many ways. And in my feeling, it's more of a feeling than a definition. Um, you know,
Eh,
it's
so did you try to write from that perspective of
yes.
you felt?
I yes, I remember many things. I mean, I was 5 years old the first time I went to Treseda, but I still remember many things because it was so different. And thankfully, my parents would take us every other year, as many times as my father could get the vacation time to go there. So we were very blessed in that way because of that.
I'm sharing right now the
Oh, okay. I thought I did some.
that's why you can't see anything. I'm sharing right now so folks can see the book that they can order from Amazon. And they can order it, of course, as a hardcover, and they can order as a paperback. But I would highly recommend the hardcover to folks. Personally, I don't have a lot, but I do have quite a few children's books that I just collected, from Portuguese American authors throughout the years. And I think for children, I think in the hardcover, it's worth that extra $4 or $5 investment,
Yeah, it
and
is. And
it's
yes, the
a lot more
quality.
durable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want children to feel the book, not just to be afraid of, oh, I touched it and it now looks old. So you want children to feel the book. So I highly would recommend that folks order it hardcover, so you can order from Amazon anytime you want to. Of course, it delivered to your house, so can't
Yes.
ask for better than that. It's
It,
so it's just a new release. And Julie, you have an illustrator that works with you that kind of takes what you feel, or how does that process? Because I've always wondered about that. How does one write and
yeah.
then
My
find
illustrator
later?
was wonderful. She does not have a Portuguese background at all. Her name is Mai Kemble. She illustrated my second book, The Hat in the Closet. I've never personally met my illustrator. I found her on Readsy, and the only communication that we had were text messages. And last summer, when I was in the Azores, I sent her pictures and she would draw out what she saw, and she did a great job. And she went out of her way. There's a couple of illustrations in the book that I didn't even think about, and she did it, the airport scene where they're at the airport saying hello to the relatives. She did that on her own. I think she knows Portuguese now, but she did a lot of studying, and she took all of my input, and she did a great job. I'm very happy with the results of the illustrations.
So you have to kind of basically, of course, you write the story and you kind of had to guide her a little bit on what you
A little
were
bit, yes.
trying to.
I had to tell her she, there's a part in the story where involving a bull. And I had to I had to send her pictures and explain to her the bull that she had drawn originally looked like a bull, the longhorn bull of Texas. I had to know this one is black, and I sent her pictures, and it's difficult when you can't be with your illustrator side by side when it's just text messaging. It can be a little grueling at times. I mean, it took us a year to complete the book when usually it takes about 3 to 6 months, but this is a longer book with illustrations. So yeah, but
So you're happy with the result, obviously.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, very happy.
And excited that it's getting out there, and basically, now folks can order it if they want to. We'll show it again in a little bit, and we'll put the information down also on the comments, so with the link, so
Great,
people
thank
can
you.
make it easier for people. The this kind of this process, that publishing, through Amazon and available, electronically in print, and people can order one or two or three books. They can order for, for their children. It offers opportunities, that sometimes publishing houses won't even, do. So you're happy with this transition that you've made with your books, all of them?
Yes, yes, the promoting my book, that's hard for me. I have a hard time promoting myself. But I have to, my books are also available at Barnes and Noble, and I would one day I need to bring my books into the store and ask them to sell them for me. There are things that I wish I had someone else do for me. It can be time assuming. Right now, I'm working on press releases to local newspapers. I'm thinking about sending one to Tribuna Portuguesa. I'm considering taking some books with me when I go in June to Saudade. I'm thinking maybe there would be a few souvenir shops there that would like to carry my book. Um, yeah, I have a lot of ideas, book signings. The only problem is right now I'm leaving in 2 weeks on a cruise. So there's limited time what I can do until I come
Tough
back.
life,
But
right?
I know, tough life, huh? But I will be going to Treseda for a few weeks. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so maybe,
And so you're going to be there in June.
yes, I'll be there for
You're going to
two
be there for
weeks.
the.
No, I'm
No.
leaving right before San Juaninas, unfortunately. I've never seen San Juaninas, but one day I will. But I only
Oh,
have yeah.
that's it's okay. You can miss it. I mean,
Okay.
no, people probably hate me for that, but I have a friend of mine who says it's the best of Angra and the worst of Angra, because
Oh,
you can't move in Angra with all the people. So I'd rather go without all the people. But
yeah, yeah.
everybody has their different liking.
It's a beautiful city when there's fast or no fast. It's still beautiful to me. So I'll enjoy it when I'm there.
You need to let me know the dates, then later on, through an email or message, because I can talk to our friend Joel Neto, who has the
Oh,
bookstore Os Livro Home Sweet Book, and maybe we could do something. You could do something there. I'm sure
oh,
he'd
that
be.
would be
For it.
great. I
Yeah, I'm sure he'd
appreciate it
be.
very much.
Yeah, I think so. Basically, it's a young lady, a little girl that is being explained what Saudade is. If is that
Right,
getting
right.
that
Well,
right?
she learns it pretty much on her own because she's things are clicking. Oh, that's what my mom was telling me about. And it's being there and being on the island and seeing the traditions carry on and the she comes to the island and she immediately is afraid of the bulls. Um, because
Smart girl.
the thought of a bull on the street frightens her, but she learns that, that's one of the traditions on the island, and she enjoys it. She no longer is afraid of the bull. visits with her grandmother's aunts that live on the island, her grandmother who lives in California. Things are clicking, and she's through the interactions with her family and just being on the island and, being in the ocean, being involved in the festivals and the festas, she feels like she's belongs there. It's,
Mhm,
there's a part of her that's there. And when
mhm.
it's time to say goodbye, it hits her. Oh, okay, this is why my mother is so sad. This is what Saudade is. And it clicks with her because she falls in love with the island, basically. And when I wrote this, I wanted it, to me, it's a love letter to the island, to me. Um, but yeah, basically that's what it is. She comes to the island knowing a little, not very much, but then she leaves the island with that sense of, oh, okay, this is a part of who I am,
And
basically.
so throughout the book, you try to, like you said, you talked about the bullfights and some of the other. So you try to go through some of the traditions that are kind
Yes,
of.
she does the Voltadilla. She goes around the island. She visits the landmarks. She spends a day making bread with her grandmother. She she's on a wagon ride in the fields with her grandfather, and she's her relationship with the island is beginning. She's interacting with her cousins who she didn't know before and forming friendships with them. Yeah, she's being, with the island. She's learning that it is a part of her and she wants to go back. She has that sense of Solvada with her.
And you believe that you said that this is a longer book than some of the other children's books that you've published, and you think it's maybe for a little bit more advanced. So you said maybe like what, a
Um,
seven,
at,
8 year old?
yeah, third, fourth grade level, but again,
Okay.
it's a book that can be read to a younger child.
Okay.
Um, it's a great book for if you have a child that's going to say or going to the Azores for the first time, and you want to give them, teach them a little things, some things about the island before they go, so they know what to expect. It's also a book that they can read while they're there. It's not like a travel guide, but it does. I do highlight places of interest on the island that I learned a lot myself. Um,
Sure.
the history of Angra and the monuments, Bay de Salga, the the story of Brianda. Um, yeah, I think it would be a good book for a child to read, especially if, my target audience are Portuguese children of immigrant
Right.
parents. Um, and it's a book that I would have liked to read when I was a child, because again, there weren't any books out there to read. Um,
Yeah, yeah, we discussed that last year when we had the
yes.
all three of you.
Yeah.
And even though there's more, it's still lagging, and we still need a few others. Now, you wrote this totally in English, but I think that you're thinking maybe in the future of doing a translation or of having it
Yes,
translated
the book does
to
have,
different.
there are some phrases in Portuguese that in the book there's some words. I have a chapter about popsicos. It introduces some words, some Portuguese
Sure.
words, but I would love to have it translated all in Portuguese, although my target audience isn't necessarily a
Sure.
Portuguese child, but it could be for a child from the mainland who has never been to the Azores. But I would eventually like to translate all my books. I have my first book, Nina and I had it translated by my cousin's daughter, and it just needs to be proofread. And I would love to have that in the libraries of Saudade. I'd love to have that available to a larger audience, and the hat in the closet as well. One day I would eventually like to get it translated in Portuguese. Just
I'm
more
showing the book right
children.
now. I'm showing Nina and I right now, so people
Yes,
can look at it. This was your first book, Julie?
this was my first book. I wrote this book. Uh, I took an online course. It was a free online course, which later uh, I learned nothing's free, of course. I learned that for it, if I gave an extra $6,000, they would tell me how to complete the book. But I learned on my own. It was my first project. I wrote this book to prove to myself that I could do it. And I did it in a matter of 4 months. It's also based on a childhood story. It does not take place in Portugal. It takes place in the US. But it's a book that translated, I just changed a little bit about the book, and it translated beautifully. I just need to get it proofread and have my daughter format it for me. But yeah.
Now, do you and then the that I'm showing right now so folks can see the hat in the closet, and that's a Halloween story.
Yes, it's a Halloween themed book about a little girl who
Okay.
finds a witch hat in her mother's closet. It's also a personal story of mine. Uh, um, and the ending in real life, it does not coincide with the book. My mother was very offended that I thought she was a witch for a few days, but it was a fun book, and I dedicated that to my mom. Yeah, it's
And and this is a possibility also that you might do it. Have you ever thought of doing the books bilingual, or is that a bit too much?
Yeah,
Especially the
I
new
would
one
like
is
them
probably
all. I would love to have them all bilingual. The more children that can be reached, the better. To me, that's my greatest reward is reaching children. I mean, when you self-publish a book, you don't make that much money right away. I mean, it's a long process to break even, but I do it purely
sure.
for the joy of it. I, when I do book readings and when I see their faces glow, it it's an award in itself to me. It gives me it wants it makes me want to write more. Um,
Sure, sure, sure.
I have a stack. I have a stack of stories that I've been writing through the years since I was a teenager that are just in a corner here next to my feet that that are just like, finish me. I don't know, but I have this novel as well that's been gnawing at me to finish. So we will see. But yes, I would love to have all my books bilingual. It's a dream of mine. It would be.
And so I'm thinking about also the most recent one, very tied to the Portuguese American experience, very
Yes,
tied to
yes.
going to the Azores. It's Santa Sede, but it could be to many other islands. Do you plan? I know, like you said, it's tough to talk about yourself, it's tough to promote, but if any, for example, Portuguese American organization is listening or watching, and they're interested maybe to have an event,
Oh,
some Portuguese language schools.
I would love to participate in anything. And in fact, I'm thinking, I haven't been to the other islands in the Azores, but there's a possibility that I could make different editions of this book. Maybe next time I'll write a book about a visit to San Miguel or San Jorge, or there's 9 islands. But yes, I would love to do that. I would love to participate in any book signing or any event. I'm upset that I'm going to miss Portugal Day on the 14th. I will be in Saudade during that time, so I'll miss that day because I was thinking about promoting my books there, but next year,
Sure,
if
sure.
I'm,
Well, and hopefully,
I'm
hopefully, we can also connect with some of the Portuguese language schools. They're ending right now.
right.
Most of them end in the first or second week of May. But then they start up again. Many of them end of August, most of them actually beginning of September. We have a Portuguese language school here in Saudade. There's a couple in the Bay Area. I think it'd be great that if we could connect you with them, and maybe one of the classes could be you reading about a little bit of this of the
Yes,
book
I would
to
love
the
that.
students.
That's my favorite thing to do is the book readings where the kids are
Yeah,
around
and
me.
the way to get it out, to
Yeah,
people. Yeah, it's a way to get it out to people, or other
right.
people won't
And
know
the
about it.
energy is so
Um,
good. It's addicting. I like that energy. Children, yeah.
have you done also some? Have you had the opportunity with your other books? Obviously, this was just brand new, but with the other two books of doing anything with libraries, sometimes libraries have also children's
Yes,
programs,
I've
so
done,
that's something we can.
I've read the first reading I did at the library was it was a Halloween event, and I did the Hat in the Closet. It was a Halloween themed, and that was a lot of fun. And I've done other book readings at schools. There's a Cat in the Hat. I think that runs in February, I believe, um, uh, where children would come in their pajamas and listen to um, teachers and authors read books to them, and that was a lot of fun. Um, but I need to do more of them um, because it gives me the energy. It makes me want to write more. It makes me want to create more because it's all that positive energy. And yes,
So tell
picture
me a
book.
little bit. First of all, people who don't know you, what is your connect? What is your connection to the? I mean, your connection to the Azores. You've been there many times, obviously, and you're going to be
Yes,
there
yes,
soon. But from what side of the family, and tell us a little bit about your immigrant story. Your
yes.
not yours, but your family's.
Yes, my mother, both sides of my family are from Treseda. Um, my mother was born there and her parents and my father's parents were born there. My father's parents came to the US as teenagers. They came to live in Massachusetts where they got married. They met in Massachusetts from large families. My grandmother especially, she came on a ship with her mother, and her mother was pregnant at the time. I think she was 6 months pregnant at the time, and I think there was 7 kids. She was the oldest daughter. I I remember a lot of stories from my grandmother. All the diapers she had to change. But anyway, they took a train and they started their life in the Central Valley in California, where they raised my uncle and my dad and my 2 aunts. And in during the Korean War, my father was enlisted in the U.S. Army, and he was stationed at the base in Lodges in the early 50s.
Ah,
And yes, the
oh,
way
interesting.
my parents met is another book. Um, it so happens that, well, when he was on the island, his parents were very happy and they were very surprised because they didn't think any of their children would go to the Azores. And they told him, okay, you have to visit your relatives. You know, you have cousins in Algualva and you have your uncle in Fontinhas. And so it so happens that my mother's stepfather, she was raised by her stepfather because her father passed away when she was a baby, was a cousin of my dad's. On his mother, his mother was cousins with my mother's stepfather. And so while he was visiting his relatives in Algualva, his cousin said, "Hey, you have your mother has a cousin in Villanova. We have to go visit, you know." And that's how my parents met. He came to the door. My grandparents invited them over. He couldn't take his eyes off my mother. It was love at first sight for him, not so much for my mom. My mom was younger. My father was 7 years older than my mother. But he persisted. He wrote letters. He came back, and eventually they fell in love and got married. And after my brother was born, they went back. They went to the States, and it took my mother 15 years for her to return. And
Mm.
life happens, yeah. And during that time,
Yeah, people,
sadly, she lost her mother, she lost her grandmother. Um, and those stories, they stay with me. It's uh, those Saudade. That's, the
indeed.
stories that I was raised with all those stories, and uh, there's a lot of books I could write just from the story of how my parents met. It would be a great story, but yeah,
Yeah, indeed.
still,
Sometimes people forget that, first when people first immigrated, especially in the 60s and even late 50s, all throughout the 60s, even
yes,
early part of the 70s when we had a lot of immigration, it wasn't the same thing as today or even 20 or
no,
30 years ago.
nothing,
It took people a
no.
long time to go back. Sometimes people were here 15, 20, 25 years before they started going back.
Oh, yes, yes. And usually when they went there, when people from the Azores would go to the US, they never returned. My mother's father, for example, um, he had two brothers and a sister. One of his brothers went to California with his sister. His sister got married there. My grandfather went to visit them. He promised his mom he would return. And that was, I don't know if she believed him, because back then no one came back. It was very rare. But he did return. He did return, and he married my grandmother. Sadly, he passed away very young. But yeah, it's a sad reality back then, and it's so different now. And I was very fortunate. We were very fortunate as children. Um, my father worked hard, um, but we had the opportunity of we spent the greatest summers on the island. I mean, my father would he would keep his vacation time. He would build it up, and we sometimes we'd be there for 3 months. We'd be there for 3 months. So of course,
Wow.
I and my siblings, we grew a love for the island. It was, and it still is. It's our home away from home. I bring my kids there. Just last year, we were able to bring my daughter and her husband, who's not from there, is not Portuguese. Um, my stepson, for the first time, came, and just then, when after the visit, they realized, oh, okay, now I understand. I All I hear is about, the Azores, Terceira, and it's all like a fog. But once they go there, they understand. Okay, now I understand, and it just brings the family together. Um, but yes, I'm very fortunate that my parents um, uh, took the time to teach us about our ancestry, kept the culture, the fastas here in California. I was sometimes dragged to them. Uh, but I'm very blessed to know where I come from, the island where um, I just feel that close connection. And without those visits, without knowing, I don't think I would have that. I would not know, and that would be a big hole. I wouldn't want to not know now that I know. So I feel
Yeah,
very
indeed. So
fortunate.
So besides the stories, as you said, from your grandparents or from your grandmother, and also from your mom, not only there were the stories that were told to you in America here, throughout here in California, but also the experiences of going there often. That kind
Yes,
of
yes,
solidified what they were
that's a
telling you.
huge, yeah, without that, I mean, without experiencing the island and being there, a lot gets lost in translation. Um, so it's something that I want to incorporate in my kids and grandchildren. I want them to know where their roots are and the language and it's important to me because I know how much important it is to me. I know that I can see in my kids that it's important to them too. And I think of that as a
Sure.
gift.
Um, sure. A little bit about before we go back to the book, the new book, what is Saudade? And I want to show it to people again. We have people watch it at different times and make sure that they understand where they can get it from. But I'm a bit curious about this novel that's in the back of your head. What's the main theme and
It,
why are you thinking? What is driving you to possibly tackle it?
it's called, I already have the title. It's called Linda Vista. And it's about, it's a coming of age novel about a young woman that has experiences a lot of loss. And and she takes a trip to Terceira, of course, Terceira. And it's a trip that she was going to take with her mother, but her mother passes unexpectedly. And so she takes this trip, and it's the first time, and she's looking for answers. She's looking for a place to belong. It's kind of a it's a kind of like a Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland kind of story. Something happens, a tragic accident happens, and the island will not let her leave until she realizes, until she learns that what she's missing, and it's a coming. It's without giving you too much information, she leaves the island eventually feeling whole. She has a sense of who she is, a clear definition of who she is, and it ends well, but she goes through a lot in the process. So yeah, it's something that I've been
So
working
it's coming. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm it's 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 a work in process. I hope this book is a stepping block to that, to finally finishing it, because it's something that I've been working on for the last 3, 4 years. I may be lying, it might be more 6 years, but it's there, and God willing, I will complete the book. So we'll see.
So it's basically, like you said, a coming of age where where there's some pain, but the pain is a process of growing, and it's also kind of a novel about identity as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Well, hopefully you can step into it with a little bit more
Yeah, I took a
dedication.
break. Yeah.
But novels take a long
Stories,
time.
yeah, children's stories are great because they're short. I mean, when I
Mhm.
wrote this book, it was going to be a picture book. A picture book is only about 33 pages long. I sent it to my editor, and my editor told me, Julie, no, this can't be a picture book. You need to expand on this. Make this into a chapter book. And that made me so happy because, okay, I could be more descriptive. I don't have to be under 33 pages. It gave me license to create something longer. And so I was happy that I was able to get out of the picture book. Now it's a chapter book. So hopefully the next step is that novel, finish that novel. So it's a process.
Sure,
But
sure.
the first book that I wrote, I wanted to write something to prove to myself that it could be done, and I did it. And then after I did the first book, my mother said, "You should write a second book just to prove that you can do it." Okay, so I did the second book and now the third book. Every 2 years, I've been able to publish a book, a children's book. So I don't know. I may take a little bit time off and work on that novel, or I might do another children's book. We'll see.
Sure, sure. Um, Before we leave, do you mind, and I'll show again the information to folks, but do you mind reading just a little bit from the book?
Oh
Maybe, I don't
yes,
know, maybe just one
I will.
page or
Let
two.
me.
Uh,
I don't know if you
Pretend
can
that's
see.
where
I don't know if you could see any of the
we can.
illustrations here, but uh, let's see. The story takes place in my mother's home Frigia, which is Villanova. And so I made this, there's um, the illustrations are happy, bright. Here is a picture of the Praça during the first Noite de Festa, where the queens are presented. I have the inside of the church in Villanova, the Boulevard, the the streets with to pitch the floor, the carpets of flowers. I tried to make this as the Praça in Villanova. Um, I also have pictures of, let's see, the bullfight where the bull eats the ice cream cone, and the inside the volcano, uh, around Angra. But let me find a place where I can read to you. Um,
Yeah, just a little bit, not much. If you
okay,
can read a page or a page and a half,
okay,
that'd be
let's
great.
see.
That way
Something,
people can get the sense
okay,
of it. Meanwhile, I'll and show folks
okay,
also the book again.
okay, let's see. Okay. A group of older men was singing on stage, taking turns with the microphone. Avul explained to Rosie that this type of music was called cantoria, and that all the singing was done in improvisation. The first singer began the song's story, making up verses as he sang. The microphone was then passed to the next singer, who picked up the story where it left off, and so on, until all the singers had their turn with the microphone. No one knows exactly how the story will end, Avô Francisco whispered in Rosie's ear. What are they singing about, Avô? Rosie asked. Saudade, her Avô answered, a small word with many emotions. Rosie and her Avô sat on one of the benches in the plaza and listened to the singers on stage. Rosie listened carefully, and although it was sometimes hard to understand the words, she easily recognized the emotion of Saudade in each of their voices. She heard that same emotion in her mother's voice each time she spoke of her island, and now Rosie was beginning to understand the meaning. So that's
Very- Yes, yes, that's wonderful. So there's lots of dialogue, which is important, especially for young readers. They normally connect with not just the narrator, but they connect with dialogue, and that it's part of the way they
yeah,
speak as
the
well.
dialogue,
Say,
the pictures in a picture book, it's more of the illustrations that make the story come alive, but in a chapter book, the dialogue is important. Yes.
Yeah, indeed, and you've made it, where not only is it the children's language or someone growing up, but also simple language that kids identify with, because a lot of times I think that's a secret to a lot of books is you've got to be at the level, that the student the
Right,
children can not only read but also understand it, or else it
right.
doesn't do any good.
No, no.
And that's not a simple process, is it? I wouldn't think it is.
It's I don't know. I don't have much problem with it. But I don't know. I think it's harder to write for adults than it is children, and but it's I don't know. I have children. I've always had children around me, so I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, but I think to me it's easier to
Sure,
write for
sure.
children.
But well, then you've had the experience with two other books, even though but does it become a little bit easier as you continue with the
I think
process, or no?
I think so. I think
You're
so.
right.
Of course, what I write about is they're mostly personal stories that I write about. The three books that I've written are all based on personal experience in one level or another. I will tell you that when I say personal is I don't know if other people do this, but I when I write, at times when I read back to myself, I will cry because it brings out emotions that I have in my book. Because when I write, it's a part of me that I write about. Um, and yeah, so I make all my books pretty personal. I don't know if that's a good thing or I
Sure.
don't know
This
if other
book,
people have that
the other,
experience, but um, I think it makes
I
the book
think in your
real,
writer,
relatable.
yeah, yeah. I took a few writing classes in college, and one time I wrote about something, and I had written a personal piece, and the
Right.
professor, criticized some things but liked it, and then he wanted something a little bit different as we proceeded through the semester. I think maybe like 4 or 5 weeks after, and I wrote something, and he and he kept me after class, and I said, "Well, I'm in trouble now," and he kept me after class. I mean, and which sometimes is not a good thing, when the professor tells you stick
Yeah,
around for a little bit.
that's kind of
Uh,
scary.
and But he was right. He was completely right. He said, "Oh, I can tell you, you don't know nothing about this." Yeah, and I said, "No, I really don't. I mean, I just wrote something." And he said, "No, no, no, no." He said, "Because there's so much difference between the other piece that you wrote and this. You only write about what you feel is important." He always
Right,
told me.
right.
Yeah,
And when you don't like there are things that I've written about that I didn't know much about. The novel that I'm writing, I had to study, I had to read up. The character in the story is in a coma. I have no idea what goes on when someone's in a coma, so I'm reading online what happens when a patient is in a coma. You have to study it because if it has never happened to you, how are you supposed to write about it? Yeah, so yeah, sometimes writing you have to really study. You have to know your piece of work.
have you even considered, because you said, all these stories that you have from, grandparents and parents, but especially grandparents, and they're coming to America, going back, one case, and all this.
Yes,
Have you
there's
ever
a lot of
considered in
sad
doing kind of a
stories.
family, not, true fiction,
Yeah,
like creative
I can,
nonfiction? In other
yeah,
words,
I can
it
work
may
them,
not be totally.
loosely based on a real true story. Yes, yes. Yeah, all my books, like the first book, Nina and I, is about a little girl who's afraid of another girl because she's teasing her on the bus and sticking her tongue out at her. And I'm the little girl being teased, but I wrote it at in the other girl's perspective of being the bully. I wrote it on her perspective, and it came out where the bully just wanted to be friends with the other character, which was me. So yeah, that's not everything that I write is pure, what happened. It's loosely based, Like
Sure.
in What is Saudade, the parents, the mother's name is Anna, and the father's name is Jose. That's my parents' name. She doesn't have any siblings.
So
I had
when
siblings, and
you
yes.
we lost you there for a little.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
My
you're back
internet,
now. You're back.
I have a lot of redwood trees around
Yeah,
my house, so sometimes the internet goes in and out. I'm sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. So as we try to end real quick here, one more thing, and that is the other two, although, obviously there's always part of you in each one of the books, but the other two are for more general audience. This one is very Portuguese based. That's not
Yes, my
to say
my
that someone
main target
doesn't
audience is
want to know what
Portuguese.
the Saudade,
Yes,
but
yes,
you did this purposely for the Portuguese American community.
yes, yes. It's my love letter to the Azores, to Terceira, my second home. And yes, my main target was again, it's a book that I would have wanted to read when I was a child.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my main target audience.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. I
Well,
appreciate
thank you so much. I thank you for this
congratulations.
opportunity of promoting my book. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your help. And thank you for letting me know that there is no Sedella in Say.
Oh, no, no, that's okay. We all learn as we go along through life. Uh,
Yes,
so the book is called again, What is Saudade? I highly recommend it. Julie was nice enough to send me a PDF, so I've read it. Congratulations. And
thank you.
so we hope that the Portuguese American community supports it. I think there's not a lot of books out there, so it's a wonderful book for a child. As Julie said, it's can be read to a child who's just 3, 4 years old, but it can also be read by a child, certainly at the age of 8, 9, and 10. It's a wonderful book. It's a wonderful book to give to your children or grandchildren
It's
if they're
also
going to
a
the Azores, right?
It's also a story, if you're reading it to a child, if it resonates with you, you can add more to the story. Like, oh, this happened to me. That's how like in the book, the grandparents describe how they met each other at a bullfight. And the person reading the book could say, oh, yeah, that's what happened to your grandmother and grandfather. That's how they met. So it might, it'll give the person reading the book, if they have that Portuguese background, they will recognize what's going on, and they can tell the child, that's what we did. That it's
Sure.
all part of the book. I mean, it's something that's relatable to the reader and to the person that's reading it too. It could be a great family time moment where you can share part of your Azorean culture to a child. You can add on to the story of what this book is about.
And that's a wonderful opportunity. That's a wonderful
Yes.
idea, actually. I think that's families, but sometimes there hasn't been the books, but now there is one with this one as far as the Azores and Terceira are concerned. So it is a wonderful idea, Julie, for people. Sometimes people get together and they're talking about why not take a book and just read to the children
Right.
and to the young adults a little bit about it. And then, like you said, take some time from what I recall, and it's been quite a few weeks since I read it, but from what I recall, and the piece that you read right now, there's quite a few Portuguese words, and I think that's so important because then you can take that and explain to them. You explain a little bit about the cantoria, but if you
Right.
really wanted to, people can go and put one on YouTube, and have the child listen to it for about 5 minutes. That's what
Exactly.
it is.
Yes. Yes. I added the contria mostly because my grandfather, he sang contria. He wrote dances, and he's my mother's father. So I had to add and his name was Francisco, so I had to add him into the book. But yeah,
What
I
was that?
tried to incorporate as much Portuguese as I could, and but still a book that could be read in English
Sure.
with some introductions of words, small words.
Yeah. No, those are important. Those are important because they can strike up a conversation. A
Right,
children's book
right,
is supposed to, add to it. It's not everything is done there.
exactly.
I've seen some great kindergarten and first grade teachers read to their children, especially to their children, their students, and it's one of the greatest feelings I did when I was at the secondary level was look at how it's being done at kindergarten and first grade, and it's so wonderful how they can read and then just add to it, and the
Right,
children are curious, what's this, what's that,
right,
especially at
right.
those ages, and even at 7, 8, 9, 10, they're very curious, and so that they can learn about the country, that they can learn about the bold late or a procession or any of
Yes.
these things, yeah. Again, congratulations. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for sharing
much.
this hour with us. The book again is called What is Saudade by Julie Costa Langlie. It is available through Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If you go to your local bookstore, they can order it for you through one of those as well.
Yes, and right now you can get a Kindle edition if you're an Amazon Unlimited, the Kindle edition is free right now. So, if you want to read the Kindle before buying the book, you can do that.
Sure, sure, but I would highly advise you to those who have children, especially, to buy the book. It's so important. I mean, I know that everybody. I read on Kindle as well, so
Uh-huh.
I'm not
Yeah, but
I'm not a
it's
fundamentalist, uh,
yeah,
but it's
having
much better.
a
Yeah,
book, a hardcover. I don't have the hardcover for What is Saudade yet. I'm still waiting for it. I only have this copy. It is, something that you can hold, that a child can hold is so much better than, a device. To me, it's something you can hold and put away.
the
Yeah.
devices are great for people when you're traveling and you don't want to carry, if you
Yeah, exactly.
with you, but to teach children, I believe, to teach children the love of reading and the love of knowledge. Knowledge is acquired mostly through books,
Right.
and so touching it, that physical object is something that I think will
It's
be.
a connection. It's a connection. It's a real connection. Yeah, I agree.
Once again, thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you again.
Okay, take care and have a great trip. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you so much. Tchauzinho.
Adeus.
Bye.